like elementary school age. Somebody had to say
Knicks, man. What you talking about? Knicks Elementary.
Shout out.
That
ain't nothing but the
hill in the hood.
That ain't nothing but. That's right there.
All right.
So, but how would you describe you? Were you a very active child?
Yeah, no doubt. I was super active. Like I wasn't in the house.
Okay.
Man, I was outside. We was trying to build basketball goals. You know what I'm saying? My grandma had chickens, goats. You know what I'm saying? So we had to go get the chickens. And, you know, we had a pretty big yard to say we was in the hood. So, you know, we built our own little full court basketball. You see what I'm saying? So we was outside. We was outside to the street like they had to come get us. And we was out there doing some devilish things too, man. But, you know, we learned athletics. You know what I'm saying? We was playing with the stick ball.
So were you? So are you and Woody in the same class? Or are you a little older than Woody?
No, I'm older than Woody.
Okay.
I graduated in '93. Shout out to the class of '93.
Yeah, shout out class of
'93. But all of them from that hood, you know, them boys down off Ashley.
Okay.
You know what I mean? His mom and my aunt were best friends. That's just some hood stories. Like
okay.
That's how, you know, we all got to know each other just being in that same neighborhood. You know.
Okay. So are you at elementary school? You that's good to see you're an active child. So come middle school time, you're at Brookdale. So I got a question. So at middle school time, what are you into? Are you still just a regular kid, or are you? This is my word I always use. Or are you starting to jump off the porch a little bit more and dibble and dabble in, let me say, street activities? Not just being a bad one, but that's later on in life. At that time, you just in middle school, you just still.
Right. Well, to be honest with you, because of where we are now, if you remember, back in 1983 is when crack cocaine hit.
No, but see, I wasn't
born yet. Yeah, you was legit. Or wasn't even born yet.
I was born in 87.
So back at that time when it hit, it actually came to our neighborhood. So, you know, we saw a lot.
Okay, y'all did.
And so we had to process that growing up, you know what I mean? And so a lot of the kids who were parents, or parents who are the kids, you know what I mean? We grew up with a lot. Everybody grew up together. So when I'm in middle school, I'm still into music. I'm into the marching band. I mean, not the marching band, but we had the band. They just started the band. You could get in the band at the 5th grade at Brookdale that time.
That was,
you know what I'm saying? We had Mr. Reed and a couple of other bands, Mr. Singer, a couple of other band directors. So I was in the band because I in my neighborhood.
So music was in your life ever since then?
Always sung in the choir. Me and my cousins, we had a gospel group called the Mighty Gospel 7 out of St. Matthew, South Carolina. Me, my cousin Coy Jr., my cousin Dalvin, my cousin Chadwick Stevenson.
Okay.
So we were singing. Rocky, who used to be at the radio station at South Carolina State University. I was a little kid now. I was the little guy.
Oh, so your boy doing quartet music.
Yeah, this when Casey and the Sunshine Band first came down.
Quartet, and they still do it.
So my church actually is Ebenezer AME Church, headed towards St. Matthew, South Carolina.
Yeah, on the left hand side.
Oh, we're going towards St. Matthew. It's going to be on the right. It's to be that brick church on the right.
Okay,
yeah, absolutely. Where the pastor is Reverend Earl Clark.
Okay,
no doubt.
Okay, so you growing up, you doing. Let me tell you something.
Music, man.
But let me tell you something, guys. I think this might be a southern thing that people understand. I did quartet for a little bit. I'm talking about people don't realize when it comes to gospel, especially for some reason quartet music, you will have the most guys who are about that life.
Serious.
Will go sing their quartet and turn it out and enjoy it, but still. Ain't no pretending about what quartet music is always always like a real correlate between like, dude, like, okay, I'm gonna do the street stuff, but I'm gonna go sing.
Be some rock stars.
I'm trying to tell you.
My uncle and my uncle Larry. That's if you ever heard of Harmonizing Six.
Yeah, I know. For St. Matthew.
My uncle and the boy Larry Barnett. That's my uncle. Yeah, see, I had a very shout out to Ray. Shout out to Ray, the producer. All the boys in the bass.
Yeah, I had the boy pick at me. I had a very short quartet stint. And I found out it ain't for me.
That wasn't.
It wasn't for me. But shout out to Ray and Larry Travis introduced that to me. Okay, so at this point, so what grade are you in when you in the group? It's like elementary school.
I'm in the middle. I'm like 7th grade.
Okay, so you middle school.
Yeah, middle school.
And you actually, so at this time, is everybody like? So when do you realize that like everybody sing, but I sing a little better than most people like when did that start to like process in your head? Because it got to be a time.
Listen, I don't even think I get down like that. You know what I mean? I just sing from the soul. It's people that's way better than myself.
Yeah.
What I consider.
Yeah.
It's just an artistry for me. You know what I mean? I know how to do what I do and do it well. You know what I mean? That's just the difference when it comes to that. And I'm also a writer when it comes to music. So it's easier for me to put that together and for other people as well. But I came up around some really
But you being humble. Okay, that say you. But that say you though. But that say when somebody else say, "Mimi, you really can sing." That's.
I'll be like, to God be the glory.
No, but I'm saying, at what age did you start to hear that? Like, at what age did that start to like?
At my church, we had youth choirs.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? And so me and all of my cousins, like I said, I come up from a family of singers.
Okay.
So a lot of my cousins can sing.
Okay.
My cousin Popsy and sing. My cousins can sing. My cousin Chad Stevenson can sing. My cousin Kobe, them people can sing. I'm talking about that. And my aunt Sarah can sing. My grandma can hum a little bit too. So I come up around a lot of singers. So, and at a very young age, that's just been in me. So just singing. And then also what added to me for that was being in the band and learning music, learning how to read music. And that's when, God rest his soul, the late, great Mr. Dwight McMillan comes into play into my life. Okay. You know what I'm saying? Because I actually grew up without a father. Okay. And so as we move along, we get into that, you know what I mean? So music was actually a gateway into me meeting some very people that became like mentors in my life. You know what I'm saying? Mr. Richard Reed. He was a dope, you know what I'm saying? Okay. We had Mr. Dwight McMillan. And then in my neighborhood, when I was a young guy, a guy who actually taught me how to play a trumpet was one of my young best friends' daddy. And his name was Mr. Ed. And Mr. Ed could play any instrument on earth. So back in those days, we used to go down to Wham Music downtown and all that to get your instrument, right? And so my mom and them took us. We got a trumpet. I got to play trumpet. My cousin Dalvin played the sax. Okay. My cousin Talisha played the clarinet. You see what I'm saying? My cousin Frank Jr., he was good on the drums, you know? So you see, there was a lot of music in the family. So early on, just singing, man, and then actually learning how to read music, actually got better with, you know, when it came to doing music and stuff.
Which is really hard. I don't think people get. I'm a musician. I can't even read music.
Yeah, I was able to read
as of yet, but I think I'm going to make that one of my, not bucket list, but that's one of my things I'm going to pursue at some point in life.
But you got a gift.
I got a gift.
Music is your gift, and that comes from above.
It comes above. I take no
same thing. You know,
I take no credit for that.
No doubt, that's by the grace of God.
Okay, so you in the group singing. So at this time. So man, so I didn't realize. So this time when you growing up, this really the 80s, really. Yeah. So you growing up in the 80s.
Grew up late 70s, early 80s, on out.
So you growing up in the 80s. So I'm about to double back. So even though you sing God, like, it's so funny because you grew up. For those of us who from Orangeburg who are, we'll say 36 and under, we saw some 90s stuff when the hill was still like hot. Right. But them 80 times, we just hit a stories.
That was a different world, bro.
We just hit a stories of how people would just be lined up and nobody just be there. And it was so much money at that time. So at that, when this all going on, what age will you be at this time when all this was going on?
When that was going on, man, I was probably about 9, 10.
No, so you
coming up in that, and then all the way out through my high school days, because what happened was they demolished all of the landscape from up there.
They did.
They cut all the trees and they just cleared it all out. You know what I mean? And at that time, I was already in high school when those things started to evolve, and that was just transitioning from there. You know.
So grandma, you say you stayed with grandma, right?
With my grandmother.
Shout out, Mama Love. Shout out, grandma.
Thomasina grandson.
There you go. So at that time, was it when you said with your grandma like, baby, my goal is, I know at that time, even my grandmother the same way. They be like, baby, I don't want you mixing up in the streets. I want you to graduate high school, because like they were sticklers. Yeah. Back then, because they took education so serious, because a lot of those women, men and women in that generation, they didn't get the opportunity. Right. They had to quit school to support the family.
Yeah, absolutely.
Men and women.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I can remember at the age when my grandmother actually went back I think it was to technical school, and got her high school diploma later on in her life. And she was probably in her 50s at that time.
Wow.
You know what I mean? And went back and got a high school diploma. So as far as me, man, I almost didn't make it out, to be honest with you. Like I was, man, I got bored with school after a while, bro, to be honest with you.
Did you get bored because you were so smart and you didn't feel challenged, or you were so bored because you getting involved in other things and his school just wasn't as important? Which one was it?
Could be a mixture of both. To be honest with you,
okay,
could be a mixture of both. And as I see now, when you get out here in the world, like a lot of stuff that they teach us in school, you know, the basis is good. You know what I mean? We need to learn how to read. We need to learn how to write. We need to know how to add, subtract, multiply, and divide. Now, if you're moving on into some other stuff, to be a doctor, an astronaut, you know, you're going to need some other math. You're going to need some trigonometry, some geometry.
Man, I don't use none of that stuff in my life.
But you don't, the average person doesn't use it. And so early on for me, you know, discovering those things early on, it just kind of ruffled me. But my grandmother was really pivotal to me finishing high school. You know what I'm saying? And it's not that I had any issues academically, obviously, but you know, it's just that, and that happens to a lot of people, man. I just got bored.
Most people I know dropped out. It's not because school was difficult for them. It might have been. I think I was interviewing somebody. I was talking to somebody, and they say it's hard for somebody to go to school when they know they just made $20,000 in a weekend in high school.
Yeah.
Because that mind, because I think people forget when you were in high school, you were 15, 16, 17.
Yeah, you're still a child.
So you seeing that kind of.
Yeah, you're still a child.
Most men won't see that in a 3 or 4 day span period.
Yeah.
So imagine what that does to your psyche.
Yeah, that's a lot for especially for a child to process. Now,